One of the main defenses that people make to show or argue that we had to have gone to the moon, and they often say that there would have been so many people involved in the conspiracy it would have been impossible to keep it quiet. The only people who would have known about the hoax would have been those on a need-to-know basis, and that would have been very few people. You have your astronauts, you have the people filming everything and building the locations, and you have the people authorizing it, and that's it. Everybody else would have been doing their one task in the line and sequence of events that they were responsible for. And this segues into another defense made by people who believe we went to the moon, and that is, why didn't NASA have them do things over after they made mistakes? And the reason for that is that this was live, and not everybody was in on it. And those hundreds of people you see at Mission Control, they're not in on it. You got the surgeons, they're monitoring the heart rate. You have the data guys, they're monitoring whatever is coming in on their feed. And everybody is looking at a live event, and all over the world, people are monitoring a live event. So there were no do-overs. Going back to what John Young said, by way of illustration, about the photo guys, the photo guys would have received the film. The film couldn't be developed on the moon. It had a chain of custody. That had to take place, and those guys were not in on it. So what has just happened to cause this stain pattern to emerge? The answer is orange juice. It has been well documented that the astronauts had a problem with the suction straws inside their helmets that allowed them to take sips of orange juice. The straws would accidentally squirt orange juice all over them and into their helmets, and this was a big problem on the mission, and the orange juice actually seeped into the neck ring, and it appears obvious now that the orange juice leaked through the neck ring at Station 9 and caused the camera to be stained. And that is direct evidence that they could not possibly be on the moon, because if orange juice could leak through the helmet lock, then the helmet lock was not properly sealed to protect the astronauts from the vacuum of space. And this is because the helmet and the neck ring, in order to be airtight, must also have been watertight, because water molecules are bigger than air molecules. So if water escaped, then oxygen also escaped, and the suit would not have been pressurized, and in that case, the astronauts would be dead. Now, I am not the first to suggest there's some sort of Geppetto character in the rafters above, pulling the astronauts by some sort of harness with fishing wire. Like, why does Charlie Duke want John Young to push on his head here?
Oops, here we go again. Give me a help. There you go. Okay, just push, start pushing on my head. Give me a hand. Okay, here we go.
So he pushes down on his head and his feet seem to levitate backwards.
You see, the vibration of my voice box makes the air vibrate between us. Then when the air vibrates your eardrum, you hear what I'm saying. But maybe you've seen a demonstration of a bell under a glass jar. With normal air inside the jar, you could hear the bell clearly. But when the vacuum pump drew the air out of the jar, there was nothing inside to carry the vibrations of the bell. Nothing until the air was let back into the jar.
They can't see your photo numbers. And this is clear tube number 2. Okay, just I can almost drive it without a hammer. But if you hand it to me, I'll get it in a second. I'm going to take a couple more shots of this before we leave. Get all in, I get the pictures. All right? Drive it in real easy here.
The sounds in space, it's odd to have a hammer or a metal tool and bang it against something and hear absolutely nothing. You can, you know, sound won't travel in a vacuum, so there you are outside and you could be hitting something, no sound at all.
In space, since there's no atmosphere, there's no air, if you bang on something when you're doing your spacewalk, you will not be able to hear that.
And this leads us to the dilemma of our final segment. All modern astronauts, such as Piers Sellers and Mike Massimino, claim to hear absolutely nothing when they're out on the International Space Station in the vacuum, banging away with metal tools and objects, whereas during the Apollo missions, all kinds of sounds have been recorded that should not be possible if they are on the moon in the vacuum of space. Even when the astronaut in the photo to the right hit a metal tube into the ground with a hammer, no sound was made. All of the sounds so far analyzed were made by the astronauts as they were handling tools, but now we are going to analyze some sounds that are made a distance away from the astronauts. So what you just saw appears to be a smoking gun. That scene, which was broadcast live to the world during Apollo 15, shows astronaut James Irwin. He takes this cord or band off of a canister, and those canisters are in the mesa table, which Irwin is standing in front of. He unravels the cord, which has two metallic locks at the end of it, pictured here. They look like bullets. He takes that off, he unravels it, he reaches back with his right hand, and he throws the cord away. Let's take another look at it. So the argument has been made for the hammering that the sound is coming through the glove and it's miraculously getting into the microphones. But we don't have to deal with that argument because James Irwin releases the object and it hits the ship and he's not touching it, and that sound is picked up by the microphone.
I perpetrated a huge fraud, which I am now about to detail.
Okay.
Involving the United States government and NASA.
All right.
And I'm sure you've heard the rumors.
The moon landing hoax?
That's right. That the moon landing was fake. The moon landings all were fake. And I was the person who filmed it.
You're serious, and okay.
I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
Because I only have this certain amount of time with you, and I'll talk about whatever you want. You know, this isn't some type of joke or
No, it's not
film
a joke.
within a film thing.
Not a joke. Nope.
Okay.
The conspiracy theorists were right on this occasion.
Well, if you're telling the truth, why would you do it? Why are you telling me? I mean, what the?
Don't you think it's important for people to know the truth?
Yeah, I got. Yes,
They
certainly.
had a massive fraud, an unparalleled fraud perpetrated against them. They should know.
Okay.
I mean, they're already suspicious of the government. They may as well have their suspicions confirmed
Okay.
and justified.
And this, why now? I mean, we're almost at the 30-year anniversary. What took so long? Why, if this is true,
I
why?
won't go into that. It has to do with personal
Okay.
evolution and influences.
So what was the
But
conspiracy?
it was easy for me because, well, first of all, I didn't think a whole lot about the morality of it, as I said. If I had, I might have been more hesitant, more stifled in my work, but I didn't. And I could see that Neil was, actually. He was bothered by it.
More than Buzz Aldrin or anyone else involved?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
About
Because in
what?
a way, everything was going to center around him. He was the one who was supposed to come down off the ladder and announce the step for mankind and what have you. He sensed that this was going to be a life-changing experience for him, and I mean on a major scale. Actually, he was rather tortured by it the rest of his life.
Really? I mean, is that why you didn't give interviews?
Yes, and in fact, that actually began to affect my own perception of it. Watching what happened to him.
Sure.
He was depressed. He was drinking heavily, bitter, scared, just phobic, avoiding people.
What would he say? I mean, did he explain the source of his depression? I
He
mean,
was on the verge of tears. He did not cry. I won't say he cried, but he was on the verge of tears so many times because of what he did,
I mean,
what he participated in. It's almost as if he thought up the idea, you know?
right. He
And
felt
he
that
did.
guilt.
He was almost used, really.
Okay.
But he's the one who felt the guilt. I'm sure NASA did not feel that much guilt. Okay.
So why did Armstrong go? I mean, he was such a moral, principled man. Why would he go on a fake moon mission? I don't believe that.
They led him to perform the miracle of going to the moon. And yes, he would be in the saddle.
You're saying they sincerely thought that they would really get there within a few years.
I believe, yes, they did think so. Although some didn't. There was a difference of opinion. There were some that just believed honestly that we will never be able to get there. There's just no chance.
Some people didn't believe that you could go even?
Well, Werner von Braun, of course, didn't think so.
The director didn't think so.
The man was just too brilliant. He knew that we couldn't do it.
Did he tell the president we can't go? I mean...
Well, he was very old, of course, at the time. And a lot of people just dismissed him. Younger, more ambitious people. Some of them really thought we could get there.
Right.
Or wanted to believe it. The dream was very powerful.
And that's what beguiled Armstrong. Here is a noble stand-up guy, and he didn't want to be part of the lie, but he knew he'd get a seat if he played ball on when they actually did go up. But that day never came, obviously.
That day never came.
And what did that do to him? I mean...
It gradually destroyed him, I think.
The last conversation you had was about 3 months ago.
Right.
And he said that you're a media guy, you got to tell the truth one day. I mean, obviously, the government said it will kill you if you say anything. I mean, that's a standard top secret sort of penalty.
It's understood, even if it's not said.
Right. But they did say it to you, I presume.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, it was said.
So why are you... So can't this get you killed?
Well, that's why I'm delaying it. Well, this is not going to be seen until
Because of our
15 years after my
So
death.
now that's why you have you sign the NDA and all these... Okay.
That's right.
All right. Well, that makes sense now. Okay, I understand that now. All right.
It should be known, but I want there to be some kind of cushion for my family. 15 years seems like a good number.
Okay. All right.
After my death, 15 years after my death.
Liberal ABC Digital. Wanted to give you the opportunity to swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon. Will you put your left hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Gentlemen. Mr. Seibel.
Yes? If you really walked on the moon, why would you not do that? So why don't you just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Seibel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Really? Well, no, it's a real Bible. You have the opportunity to have $5,000.
The meeting is not open.
Well, you have $5,000 cash. You can give it to charity if you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon.
Please
I have the tape.
That'd be fine.
Why don't you swear to... Why not? Why won't you do it? So why don't you put your hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Mr. Seibel has made a fool of himself in front of the world. Mr. Seibel, you do not deserve answers.
So why don't you just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Seibel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight. I don't hit people, but you're going to be on the deck unless you get
I'm heading out. I'm on
and get the hell out of the house.
Well, I
Take your stuff and get the fuck out. Why don't you quote me and say it's bullshit?
And the shadows in her uncle. I don't give a damn about all that shit.
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
You want me to knock you in the head?
Well, I want you to swear to God on the Bible that you walked on the moon. If you walked on the moon, we're given the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you if you don't leave me alone.
Watching them lie through their teeth, carrying on a hoax that is so...